the podcast on kind of like the future vision of what's going to happen in the industry, right? So if I can kind of take everything that you've been speaking about and also the articles that I read beforehand, like automation is definitely, and I should say maybe like autonomous systems, whether they're tractors or others, are definitely going to be more utilized in the growing in the farming industry, more than we've seen before. I would also assume that COVID has kind of pushed this along, right? Getting farmers interested in this because of the maybe even increased labor shortages that you've mentioned. Can you maybe paint a little bit of a picture for the listeners as to kind of what you see? And of course, it doesn't have to be 100% right. I mean, everybody, it's a little bit difficult to fully understand what's happening in 10 years, but your own personal point of view, could you maybe paint a picture of like what the next 10 years would look like, regarding automation and farming in general?
Sure. Yeah. I think we have a really good example that we can look to now, or a few really good examples. And I would say the first one is just with what we've seen with row crops. I'll kind of reiterate what I said earlier in the podcast, and that is that we've seen over it's taken a generation, right? But we've seen a lot of tasks become mechanized, everything from tilling to and cultivation all the way to harvest and post processing of fruit. So I think if I suspect that the specialty crop market will go that same direction, right? We're seeing apples become trellised to facilitate for automation. We're seeing the way that fields get planted in other crops also start to think about automation, and genetics are being bred to favor automation. So I think that specialty crops and fresh produce is going to look a lot like what the broadacre row crops look like today. It's going to be a field that you see very few humans come every day, right? Instead of hundreds of cars pulling up to a strawberry farm, you're going to see a dozen. And those dozen people are going to be operating equipment, making sure that the fruit gets from the field to a cooler. And then in the cooler, you're going to see a lot of activity, probably also automated, that positions that gets the fruit into the final pack for the consumer in a really attractive way. So I don't think any of this is particularly far-fetched. It's just we haven't really gotten to the point as an industry, as an automation industry, where a lot of the components have been able to be available or be built upon to integrate into these really elegant solutions on the ranch. So I think that's a big part of it. And then I think the other part of it is just which of the growers are going to lead the charge in it's accelerating their own adoption, and I think probably improving their own market share because of their inherent sort of structural cost advantage that they'll get through automation. But I think in 10 to 20 years, you're going to see a lot of a big generational shift in how fruits and vegetables are picked.
Very interesting. Yeah, this is, this is definitely one of the main trends that keeps coming up on the podcast. So thanks for kind of corroborating and supporting that idea.